Joining me now for our News on Terror segment, retired Brigadier General and author of Besieged, General A.J. Tata. General, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Liz. Thank you.
All right, General, let's start with this question of the day. This is a pretty serious allegation, in my opinion, that the Russians are making against the U.S., but why exactly are they blaming the United States after ISIS, the Islamic State terror group, recaptured Palmyra this past Sunday?
I think, Liz, it helps to start with where Palmyra is and why it's important. And specifically, Palmyra is just in the middle of Syria, and it's the old Silk trade route. And it has some of the most beautiful ancient ruins from the Roman era. And so ISIS wants to be there because it's part of their information campaign. They can kill whoever they want, they can destroy whatever they want. They can destroy history. They can destroy Christian history. Palmyra was pretty much a pagan town, but the Romans came through there, and Christianity ebbed and flowed through there, as did Islam and other religions as well, and languages. And so there's some history there that ISIS is saying your history doesn't matter. The caliphate is what matters. So the reason Syrian defense forces with Russia wanted to take that back was to preserve that part of Syrian history. Now, strategically and tactically, what's happening is we had committed to supporting Syrian forces attacking Raqqa, and we have committed, obviously, forces to Mosul. And because the attack on Mosul so far seems pretty anemic, and for whatever reason, we chose not to hold ISIS forces in Raqqa and keep the pressure there. That allowed repositioning of forces from both Raqqa and Mosul to Palmyra to defeat the Syrian forces.
Right, so I guess my question then is this a valid accusation then? This Russian foreign minister implied that the militants fighting, like you said, had recently left Mosul. He even mentioned the fact that the United States broadcast the fact that they'd suspended actions in Raqqa until the spring. Is this a valid accusation that the actions from the U.S. in these two cities left Palmyra open?
Yeah, no, I think it's very valid that we're, again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, Liz, with regard to telling the enemy what we're doing. We're suspending ops. Well, okay, well then pack up your pickup trucks, ISIS, and move to a different location. And they can hold in the outskirts of southeastern Mosul and reposition some forces as well. And what ISIS is saying is the Mosul thing's no big deal right now, and our headquarters is secure. And so we even have the flexibility to go do other operations as well. So bring it on is what they're really saying to us.
Right. So talk to me then about the significance, because I know that Palmyra isn't necessarily the strategic stronghold that Raqqa or that Aleppo or that Mosul would be, but what's the significance of ISIS retaking this city?
Yeah, I think, you have to think back, Liz, to all of ISIS's information campaigns. We U.S. are inept right now under this administration at leveraging the elements of national power. ISIS is quite good at leveraging their elements of transnational power. They have an effective military. They have an effective diplomacy arm to go in and work locally. And they have a very effective information campaign. And so this is part of that information campaign to say, we're doing whatever we want to do, and we're destroying history. We're destroying Christian history. We're destroying the ruins there. And not only are we doing that, we're defeating the Syrian army, which is a Russian-backed army. So we're defeating two of the world's superpowers while you're acting like you're going to come and attack us. And it's just a stick in our eye. And this is Obama's legacy of inept, strategic action.
Right, and I think that might have been their original goal. One of their original goals when they took Palmyra the first time, they knew it was a historical city here. They knew, it's shockingly in our world, they got more attention for destroying history and artifacts than they do for their destruction of people around the world, and it doesn't stop here. I guess, General, turning to Aleppo for a second, because that's the biggest story that we're seeing right now as it pertains to the Islamic State. How is this recapture of Palmyra going to impact the final or the retake of Aleppo from ISIS?
Well, I think it does not bode well, because I think ISIS is pretty much doing what it wants to do on the battlefield right now, and we don't have the State Department is nowhere to be found working with Syria or Russia. We are like the gang that can't shoot straight right now. Syria, U.S., Russia, all in a circle shooting pistols at each other. Meanwhile, ISIS is doing what it wants on the battlefield. And so we talked last week, I think, about how long it's going to take to retake Mosul.
Right.
I think this is a good indicator that ISIS is pretty much doing what it wants to do. It's holding in Mosul. It's in Palmyra. It's in Aleppo. It's in Raqqa, and they're saying we're a force to be reckoned with. And again, we are not the junior varsity, Mr. President, is what they're saying.
Right, and I think by this point, that's pretty evident. Even President Obama now, with just a few days, 37 days left of his term, he's realizing that. General, thank you so much for being on the show. It's always great to talk to you, sir.